We're going to turn now to our hot topic of the morning. Yesterday, we introduced you to a family with a radical take on education, the Biegler family of Massachusetts. They don't send their 2 children to school. They allow their teen daughter and son to decide what they want to learn and when they want to learn it. They're part of a new movement called Unschooling. And your reactions to it set off a firestorm on our message boards. Juju has more. Juju, you were looking at those. It was incredible.
It was incredible, George. And here's some perspective. There are roughly 2 million kids in this country who are homeschooled, but this is different. An estimated 10% of homeschoolers are unschooled. And our family takes it one step further, extending the unschooling philosophy into parenting. And so as soon as our story aired, we were flooded with viewer comments. We brought the Biegler family here to answer your questions, and we'll get to them in a minute. But first, a reminder on how unschooling.
The Bieglers are a typical happy family. Typical except for one very controversial life choice. Their children get no formal education.
They'll never get X plus Y equals Z.
No, if they need formal algebra understanding, then they will find that information.
Our message boards lit up over the concept of unschooling. No textbooks, no tests, living as if the school system just doesn't exist.
They might watch television, play games on the computers.
Might read.
I know my kids, if they have a choice between watching TV and reading.
The key there is that you got to trust your kids to find their own interests.
It's a choice many find questionable.
The whole concept of operating with your kid, it's kind of cool in theory, and if a child was a little adult, I think it'd be great, but he's a child.
Do you feel prepared for college?
If I wanted to go to college, then I would pick up a textbook and I would learn.
When was the last school?
It was first grade when I stopped.
Do you ever miss or regret not being in a normal school?
I was never really into some of the stuff that I had to learn in school.
But you were 7, what do you know?
And here are just some of the emails we got yesterday, and we're joined now by the parents who set it all off, Christine Yablonsky and Phil Biegler. Also in Boston, Pat Farenga, who's the president of Holt Associates, an expert on homeschooling and unschooling. And I have to start out via culpa. I confessed my bias yesterday. I thought this was a crazy idea, and one of your friends wanted you to come in and punch me. You're smiling instead. Thank you for that. But look, we did get so much reaction to this on our message boards, and I want to get to some of the questions that came in. This one was very representative. It comes from a woman in Terra, California, and the question was, who is going to hire these kids without a high school diploma or a GED? What are they going to do for income when they're adults?
There are already unschoolers who are either in college or have graduated college, who are in the working world. There are unschoolers who are raising families. So this might be a new concept for a lot of people, but the unschooling movement, if you want to call it that, has been in existence for a while. And you could argue that it's actually
and kids have been successful.
Yes, and kids have absolutely been successful. They are holding jobs, they are raising their families, they are productive, positive influences in their communities. Just because you didn't take a path that was public school to wherever you want to be as an adult doesn't mean that you've taken the wrong path. There are many different ways people get to a certain place in their life. If you think of someone at a certain point in their career, but by the time they're 40, 50, 60, you go backwards, how much of that was really influenced by what happened in their public schooling?
But in your family, it's going to be your own kid's decision whether or not to get the GED.
Right.
Absolutely. Because their pursuit of whatever kind of higher education they want is going to be based upon what their own specific goals are in life, not just because they're supposed to go to college. There's a lot of people who go to college and squander their opportunity because for real concrete
reasons.
The next
step in the ladder.
Yeah, they're just there because, well, you're supposed to go to college. And then those are the ones who get into trouble, they binge drink, they're doing all sorts of crazy things because they don't actually have clear objectives of why they're there and what they're trying to accomplish.
Phil, let me get to another question. And she writes, it really limits their exposure to things. So much to miss out on.
That's so ridiculous.
we spend a significant amount of our time and energy making sure that we're exposing the kids to all kinds of things. It's an activity for us as parents that takes hours a day. So we bring them to places and we bring things to them on a very regular basis. They're not confined to only the topics that they have to learn in school. Their world is much, much larger and much broader
so
than
there is structure. This isn't all then saying I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
There's an intrinsic structure of what they're trying to accomplish during the day. There might be days where they don't have a whole lot on their plate, so it's more loose. But if you looked at a week or a month, you'll see that there's a structure to what they're doing and what they're accomplishing. And as far as what they're exposed to, our kids have been to Australia. They've been to Europe. They've traveled the country in an RV for 2 months. They've seen the world. They see the country. They have friends all over not just in their town, but in local communities. They are involved in a lot of community events. They're involved in different places. They are very active and very involved in their world.
Let me bring Pat in on this, because we got a lot of viewers writing in, Pat, who say they homeschool their own kids, but were against unschooling. Can you explain the difference?
Broadly speaking, homeschooling is doing school at home, purchasing a curriculum and administering it as if you're in school. Whereas unschooling, as you're learning, is seeing the interests of a child and helping them learn as they learned before they went to school. Children learn to walk and talk without being given formal instruction or curriculum, if you will. And unschoolers build on that, as this family is beautifully indicated. Hiding their children from the world, they're trying to get their children involved in the world to help them learn.
Okay, we only have about 15 seconds left. What's the single thing you want people who are watching at home, and I had so many questions about this, to know about unschooling?
There's a huge difference between having no rules and having arbitrary rules. We do not have arbitrary rules for our children. We live a world on principles, the principles of trust, honesty, respect. That's how we develop what kind of inner characteristics for them. That's how we make all of our decisions. It's not anything goes. It's honesty and trusting that we are instilling proper values, good values in our children, and they will make good decisions in their lives.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Was a lot of this story. Thank you both. Pat, thank you as well.
You're welcome.
We still want to know what you think about all this. You can tell us at abcnews.com.